Watching the ball is a very challenging thing to do, but it can be improved by understanding why it is that it is so hard, and then by creating healthy habits that can reverse that. In this video, I'm going to show you why it is so difficult to watch that ball, and then I'm going to give you some suggestions that are going to help you turn things around. So why is it so difficult for our minds to stay on the ball? And it all comes down to how difficult it is for all of us to stay in the present, in what is going on right now. There are a million things that your mind can go through when the ball is bouncing, and unfortunately, that is what happens to a lot of people. Rather than concentrating on that thing that is happening in front of you on that bounce, then we allow other thoughts to take over that moment. So if you think about it, it all comes down to the intention. What is your intention when you are watching the ball? Where is your mind at? Your intention should be on receiving all that information that the ball is showing you at that moment. Your intention should be becoming that silent observer that is picking up everything that is happening to the ball. You want to become that silent observer as soon as the ball leaves your side. As I always tell you in all my videos, when the ball is on your side, it should be all about you, all about what you can create. When the ball is on that side, it's all about them, all about what they're doing, not about what I did. Did I miss-hit? Did I not go? Well, maybe it didn't go the way that I wanted to, but the ball went over the net. So you want to put that aside and start reading what's happening on that other side. Start reading the body language. Start reading the wind. Those are the things that are going to bring you to the moment, to what's happening right now. Because I promise you, there are a lot of things that are going to happen that you might not have thought about. So the most typical places where your mind goes when the ball bounces and when it's coming at you and when it's time to hit it is that your mind goes to instruction, to what you've been working on, to I heard this from my pro, or I saw this in this video. And then your mind starts telling your body, your heart really how to hit the ball. And the other most common thing is on watching what's happening on that side, as if you were able to keep one eye on the ball and then the other eye on your opponent. Remember that your opponent is going to do whatever they want to do, regardless of whether you're looking at him or her. So my first suggestion, and the most important, is you have to learn how to become that silent observer of the ball. And in order to explain that, I want to put you in a situation in your mind. I want you to picture yourself going to a movie that your friends have been talking about for the longest time. Everybody's thinking, oh my God, this is a great movie. You got to watch it. But you haven't heard anything about the movie yet. You don't know the end. You don't know who did what. You're going there with an open mind. So in the beginning of that movie, you're sitting there and all you're doing is you're receiving. You're sitting there and you're letting somebody tell you this story of what's happening. You're not making conclusions yet because this is the beginning of the movie, right? You're receiving all that information. And that is exactly what needs to happen when that ball bounces. When that ball is in front of you, you need to see that ball bounce and you need to see what that ball did. Did it bounce the way that you were expecting it? Did the wind blow and it moved it a little bit to the right or to the left? And that leads me to my next suggestion, is at that point, you need to let trust happen. And what does that mean? That means that you're basically saying to your instinct, here's my racket, you play. You're not going to let your mind control the show anymore. You're going to let your heart and you're going to let your instinct take a decision. So that means that very first thought that pops in your mind, that is your instinct telling you, because you've played long enough that you have understood by now what is high percentage. You've been watching your opponent for the time that you've been playing against him or her, and you've picked up a few clues right now about the way that person plays. So you're adding all that to that bank of information so that by the time the ball shows up in front of you, that voice, that first thought, that is your instinct and you need to go with it. The moment that you allow another option to pop in your head, that is not your instinct. That is your ego telling you, wait a minute, we should consider the fact that this person at the net moved a little bit. And also we should consider the fact that maybe if I add a little bit more topspin, like we were working on with my pro the last week, and you see where that whole conversation is going? So guess what? More than one option is going to start popping in your head. And all of a sudden, you're going to go from having one clear decision to being like a kid in a candy store that has so many options and cannot decide what to do. And that leads me to my next suggestion. So when you allow trust to happen, when you allow your instinct to take your racket and play for you, you need to be willing to suffer the consequences of your choice, to basically be okay with things not working out. The best way to negotiate anything is if you don't care about the result. So you want to be invested in what you're feeling at the moment, not on the results. You're going to win some, you're going to lose some. And the intention should be to enjoy what's happening right in front of you. A while ago, I made a video on the reason why you play tennis. And I'm going to link it over here. I want you to go through that because my next suggestion has to do with enjoying what you're doing. The whole reason why you're playing tennis is because you want to enjoy every single ball. And yes, you might have, the forehand, the backhand, the overhead, the volleys, and strokes that you repeat over and over and over. But every time you hit the ball, it's going to feel different. Every time that you strike a ball, you're going to have a new feeling. And that should be the main reason why you're playing this sport, to experience something every time you hit the ball. And if you really ride that wave, then you're going to try to extend that feeling. You're going to try to make that connection last as long as you can, because it needs to be all about what you're feeling, what you're creating, not what's happening. So my next suggestion has to do with concentrating on the actual ball. Every ball has different colors on it. So you can tell that we've got black and we've got blue. And every ball has a logo, right? And a number and a style. Now, you're not going to be able to read what number or what brand that ball is, but you will be able to distinguish a little bit of blue and maybe a little bit of black while the ball is up in the air. So if you give yourself that task of trying to perceive a color on the ball while the ball is flying to you, then you're going to be able to keep your mind on what's happening right now. Another thing that you can watch for on the ball is the seams of the ball. And again, you're probably not going to be able to distinguish which seam is flying, but you're going to be able to see the difference between the white and the yellow flying through it. So what I would tell my mind is, I want to be able to see all those colors rotating and the seams of the ball. I want to be able to realize that the ball is not all yellow, that the ball actually has different patterns. And that's all I want to care, to try and keep my mind concentrated on what's happening, regardless of whether that person is moving, whether the wind is blowing, whether there are a million other things that could be happening at that moment. Another thing that you can observe on the ball is the shadows that the sun causes on the ball. Now today I'm filming in the middle of the day, so you can't really see it, but sometimes during sunrise and sunset, you're going to have a very distinct shadow on the right side or the left side of the ball. So that's another thing that you could start looking for on the ball as it's flying through the air. My next suggestion has to do with timing, and it has to do with watching the ball bounce on this side and on that side. As I always tell you in all of my videos, when the ball is on this side, it has to do with you, about what you can do with the ball, what you can create. And when the ball is on that side, it needs to be all about what that person is doing, what is happening on that side, what body language am I getting from that person, what is the ball doing. And so as soon as I absorb all that information, I'm going to put it in my brain, and I'm going to trust my instinct, that my instinct is going to be that quick that it's going to take all that plus seeing the ball bounce in front of me, and it's going to make the best decision. Like I said in the beginning, the main thing for you to do if you want to conquer watching the ball is to be able to say to your instinct, here's my racket, you play. And I'm just going to sit here, I'm going to make my body move, and I'm going to allow my heart and my instinct to come up with the best decision at that moment. My next suggestion has to be with a game that I always make my students go through, and it has to do with saying bounce when the ball bounces on this side and hit when you hit it. And same thing, when the ball bounces on that side, you want to say bounce in your head, and when they hit it, you want to say hit. So while you're practicing with somebody, do that. That's going to be a little distracting if you do that when you're in the middle of a point. But when you're practicing, that would be a really good thing to practice, to try to keep your timing happening in the exact way that is happening. Practice makes perfect. So dedicate at least one day during the week to bring in a basket and just grab a ball, see when the ball bounces, try to see the seams of the ball, try to just let that instinct come out, let that voice come out, and try to see when you make contact with the back of the ball. Make it super simple so that you create trust by repeating the right habit over and over. And my last suggestion is have patience with yourself. Anytime you create a habit, it needs to happen over and over and over. Trust is built. Trust happens when you repeat something over and over. So you trust something that's bad and you trust something that's good when it repeats over and over. So if you want to destroy a bad habit, if you want to change it, you need to give it time so that it builds the right idea. So if you want to break a bad habit, you also want to be patient and give it time. Let things happen and let your mind believe that, okay, this new idea works and I'm going to repeat it over and over, and I am committed to using it. And that leads me to my last suggestion. Use all these suggestions when you're playing a match, when it matters to you, when you are willing to suffer the consequences of using these suggestions. Because going back to the beginning, the reason why you play tennis is so that you can feel something every time you hit that ball.